Thank you, dear viewers, for joining us on this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from my headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. My name is Babla Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, two traditional rulers abducted in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon have been set free. The two traditional rulers were released earlier today after the death of one of the three traditional rulers who were kidnapped in the southwest region of the country. We have updates with our southwest correspondent Derek Jato in this edition of the news. And the paramount ruler of the Bamenju people in the west region of the country, His Royal Majesty Sokuju Jean Ramo II, urges the President of the Republic to stop arresting and detaining all political leaders or persons who dare to criticize him. And out of the country, the United States has officially removed Sudan from its list of state sponsors of terror, and the country has started its largest vaccination campaign, the vaccination against coronavirus. Two of the three traditional rulers abducted by armed men in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon have been released, and their release comes after the death of the traditional ruler of Mar 14. He was among the three traditional rulers abducted by armed men within the context of the deepening Anglophone crisis. The Rijato reports that the divisional officer of Boya was at the palace of the phone, or the traditional ruler of Mar 14 today. His report.
The palace of Chief Ekomengale, the traditional ruler of Mar 14 Dibanda in Boya subdivision. The crown of the Dibanda people is absent, and Abba Abdurrahman, the divisional officer for Boya subdivision, came down to the Dibanda palace for information from witnesses as to what really happened that afternoon, Sunday, December 13, 2020, that led to the death of Chief Ekomengale. Reports say it was during an inaugural ceremony of this palace, his palace, in his village at Mile 14 Dibanda, that gunmen, allegedly separatist fighters, stormed the palace and abducted the chief celebrant, Chief Ekomengale, and his invited peers, the traditional ruler of Mile 15 and that of Mile 16, and the death of Chief Ekomengale was reported shortly after the abduction. After listening,
you see, when we're a community, a people that is strong is when all of us, forces are doing their best, but they cannot be behind each and every one of us. Collectively, we have to tie our hands to defend from when we see them to when. So that's the message we brought then. Now for the two others, the forces are continue to do their work to see into it that they are being rescued.
And also present was Honorable Malumba Esembe, the member of parliament for Boya Urban constituency, who started by telling his electorate in the Mokwe language that the stains on them are too much, and as a people, everyone should play his or her role for such sins not to be repeated. The FACO Conference of Traditional Rulers has condemned the act and asking questions as to why them now and then. And sources say there will be a decisive outing by the traditional rulers of FACO division in the days ahead. Sunday, December 13, 2020 was another black day, and such black days are becoming more recurrent in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon as the war keeps changing faces.
The Register reporting from the southwest region of the country, the traditional rulers of May 15 and 17 are freed. They were released earlier today by the armed men who abducted them. And in the west region of the country, the traditional ruler, paramount fon of the Bamenju people, has urged the President of the Republic of Cameroon, Paul Biya, to stop arresting and detaining politicians and all other persons who dare to criticize him and his government. In one of his recent statements, the traditional authorities said his co-traditional rulers who took part in the regional elections fell in the trap of the regime. For me, Armstrong Sander has more.
The monarch, Sokoju Jean Ramon, paramount ruler of Bamenju in the west region of Cameroon, regrets that his co-traditional rulers who participated in the December the 6th pioneer regional election in Cameroon fell into a trap set by the Yaoundé regime, a regime which has gripped and is now controlling traditional rulers in the country, according to Sokoju Jean Ramon. Rhetorically, Sokoju Jean Ramon wrote on his Facebook page, "What do you seek on the seats of senators, members of parliament, regional councillors and mayors, leaving the throne of your ancestors?" End of interrogation mark. The Dean of Traditional Rulers of the West region of Cameroon also think that regional councillors in the country will have no say, just like members of parliament and senators in Cameroon, because according to him, power in the country is centralized on the personality of the President of the Republic. He believes that the major problems in Cameroon are poor governance, corruption, injustice and bribery. These problems, Sokoju Jean Ramon says, should be tackled as a matter of priority, without which any other thing is distraction. While applauding the end of the over 2 months house arrest of Professor Maurice Kamto, national president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement political party, Sokoju Jean Ramon said the house arrest was first and foremost not necessary. He believes that time is now to limit the tense atmosphere and stop arresting all those who dare criticize the Yaoundé regime. Let those who have taken up arms against their country drop them, come back home and have their say, according to the custodian of the tradition. His Majesty Sokoju Jean Ramon, the custodian of the tradition of the people of Bamenju, believes that everyone has got a role to play in the development of Cameroon, and that can only be possible and realized in an environment void of hate.
And a top militant of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, CRM political party, says that if the national president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, Professor Maurice Kamto, please, these are his words, he will be thrown into prison again. And some other opposition politicians condemned this statement and said that the house arrest, or better still forceful detention of Professor Maurice Kamto since the 22nd of September 2020 before his recent release has no judicial backing and is totally inadmissible. And responding to the CPDM militant, the communicator of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, CRM political party, said the struggle against the Biya regime and its ears continues. They were all speaking on the program Droit de Réponse yesterday.
The CRM, while
Professor Maurice Kamto had condemned his detention for close to 3 months, announcing after his release recently his house arrest was inadmissible, as according to a CRM panelist on Droit de Réponse, lawyers constituting the defense team of Professor Maurice Kamto consider his arrest to have no legal base.
C'est une indignation qui prouve tout simplement que la séquestration du professeur Kamto n'avait aucune base juridique.
SDF panelist believes the judicial system is manipulated by the executive arm of government.
Nous avons une justice qui est manipulée par l'exécutif. He is baffled and questions if the Minister of Communication has become the state prosecutor to announce liberation of CRM militants and prescribe conditions under which they will be freed. He is firm on his stance. The CPDM's dictatorship has crossed the red line, putting a question mark on Cameroon's justice system, with the aim of government authorities being to crush Cameroonians and remain in power for life for their egoistic interests. CPDM communicator tells his colleagues of the SDF.
Il faut leur dire qu'aujourd'hui, l'Assemblée nationale du Cameroun,
the National Assembly is represented by close to 10 political parties, a clear indication true democracy is a reality in Cameroon, with now the integration of regional councillors, municipal councillors, and members of parliament. Thus, at least over 20 political parties represented in the various territorial collectivities.
Nous avons près d'une vingtaine de partis politiques. Au Cameroun, l'un des rares cas en Afrique représentés dans les diverses collectivités territoriales.
As concerns the CRM penalist, Professor Masanga Nyamding tells him his party has the right to be quiet, that the CRM does not represent the opposition, but an extremist party of an opposition that has no parliamentarian at the National Assembly.
Non parlementaire pour ce qui concerne le représentant du MRC.
The die-hard CPDM militant on set.
Et voilà, M. Kamto, il est libre. Eh bien, une fois de plus.
Once Maurice Kamto, he will be thrown in jail next time he wages war against public peace and stability of Cameroon.
Il va se retrouver en prison. Après, j'ai dit recommencer, je parle de la subversion.
Après, vous professeur c'est compris.
Vous allez voir ce qui va lui arriver.
According to the CRM, Kamto's house arrest in no way intimidates them, and the struggle of the party against hijack of Cameroon by the Biya regime has just begun.
Voyant que le MRC allait prendre un coup et la lutte, ils se trompent. Parce qu'ils doivent retenir que la lutte ne fait que commencer. Nous n'avons même pas encore commencé la lutte.
The national chairman of the Social Democratic Front SDF political party, John Fundi, says the party is strategizing for a better political future and for its continuous fight for a better Cameroon. He was speaking to the press after the last National Executive Committee meeting that took place over the weekend. Details in this extract of the national chairman.
The SDF talked about the federal system of governance. They've come in with the decentralization. You'll see that all that they were talking was the SDF language and trying to do things the way SDF could have done. And because the SDF absented themselves from these elections, they smoothened everything to make it look hitch-free. Even where people voted nil votes, they still erased it to say that nobody voted nil, everybody was listening. And I ask myself, with the war in the north and southwest, none of those places could vote for the SDF. And you go sit down and you arrogate to yourself that, oh, we went to election, we had 100% here, this and that. Is that fair? There's no country in the world that will give 100% under the conditions that we found ourselves in. The SDF, you've seen the SDF fighting these things all along. You see the masquerade that they've been playing, pushing things this way, that way. Now they have to come with ambas. Now they have to come with the army. The army started shooting guns in the morning. Did you go out yourself as a journalist? Why didn't you go out? Because they were shooting guns. So when you cannot go out as a journalist to cover the truth, you think that Chris Mbumwe, who's also a journalist in Bamenda, should go out and vote? The young generation, I'm encouraging them to come in. I'm aging and going. And if I don't talk about the young generation, then I've deceived myself. I've been talking about them. And you notice that in all the elections that the SDF has participated in, the SDF candidates were the youngest in most of the elections. So we've been thinking of them. But I just want to emphasize more that I need more of them in.
We're sorry for that little mix-up there on the name and title of the national chairman of the Social Democratic Front, SDF political party, speaking to reporters in Yaoundé after the last National Executive Committee meeting of the Social Democratic Front. And after that meeting, the first Vice President, Honorable O.C. Joshua, also spoke to the press, and he started by dismissing what he considers as allegations of some internal issues of indiscipline with some militants of the party, and he went further to explain all the content of the last National Executive Committee meeting, indicating that the party was looking back to see what was done well done, what was not well done, what went wrong, in order to project into the future, into a better political future and a better fight for the country. Listen to Honorable O.C. Joshua and also Honorable Thomas.
At the level of the National Executive Committee, we looked at all the elections. We have no petition for disciplinary measures on our desk at this time. I hope I'm not contradicting somebody who talked to you before me, but I did the entire meeting, and at no one point was there an issue of indiscipline that needed the executive committee to sit as a disciplinary committee to look into it. This meeting was called up after the party had suffered severely from COVID-19. I don't think another political party has suffered as much as we did. So we had to come together. It's kind of a reunion of the National Executive Committee, after which we will launch our activities again on the field. You know, we had our last meeting in sometime in November last year, on the 9th of November, if I'm not mistaken, and after that we got into elections, and then we got into competitions, and then we left the Supreme Court just a couple of weeks ago before the regional elections. So we've been extremely out of place. We have not been sitting together to discuss, so it was very important that all NEC members, and as you can see, many people who are not even NEC members were invited as well, so that we can be aligned on the direction we want to take, so that we can be refocused and motivated to take that direction. That was the reason of this meeting. And we'll hold another meeting sometime early next year, where we have put today some committees in place that will do some work during the festive season, and will come back and hopefully give us some very good reports on which we can work on the basis of those reports, so that we take some strong resolutions as we move forward.
This is a welcome NEC meeting for the national chairman. We are going to hold a NEC maybe towards the end of January or beginning of February. All those things will be discussed in if there were some mistakes that were made, if there was some misunderstandings, if some people didn't know that non-participation meant that you shouldn't go at all. Some people thought that means you can go and put in a blank ballot paper. But we'll meet, we'll discuss all those things in February or during the next NEC.
Those were Honorables O.C. Joshua, first Vice President of the Social Democratic Front, and Thomasan, Member of Parliament of the party, speaking there after the last NEC meeting of the SDF in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. On to something else now. Several young persons have been arrested here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. The young people are said to have been involved in a series of violent acts attacking some city dwellers. And the governor of the littoral region, Samuel Dieudonné Vahadiboa, and other authorities of the region are bent on killing the phenomenon of microbe, as it is referred to in the French language. Details in this report by Smart Jik and Gabriel.
Broken plastic chairs. Broken flat screen television. and destroyed louvers of some 2 hotels alongside scattered car screens were some of the destruction recorded in the Bepanda neighborhood of the Douala 5 subdivision as a result of the visit of some 15 boys fondly called Microbe. Their arrest by the commander of the Gendarmerie Brigade in Bepanda, Edinge Mbange Philippe, comes after an alert from residents of the neighborhood. The presence of these boys provoked panic and forced many to run to their homes. Upon their arrest, an order from the top administration in littoral region said they should be transferred straight away to prison.
We stay with Manjik and Gabriel to talk about the business, the illegal business of human bones trafficking. This is a business that is gaining grounds in different parts of the Republic of Cameroon, and we are taking you up north to Garoua to talk about this activity and the arrest of some young persons involved in the illegal business of human bones trafficking. His report.
It was a busy day at the premises of the Mobile Intervention Police Unit number 4 in Garoua. Security forces on patrol caught a 24-year-old man by name Buba Amadou with human bones in Garoua, according to the commissioner of GMI4. The young man was traveling in a bus from Maroua into Garoua when he was arrested after presenting the identity card of a certain Sali Alim, which wasn't his real identity. Furthermore, when he was called, he threw his bag away and began to run. Thanks to the population, he was caught, and it was then the bag was opened to discover the content. The bones, we were told, was destined to be sold in Garoua. For now, Amadou Buba is behind bars at GMI4 to be transferred to court for justice to take its course.
Households in the Republic of Cameroon are facing the problem of increasing prices of basic commodities on the markets with the fast approaching end of year festivities. And Immaculate Fogwe compares the worries of households, especially the poor and low income earners, who constitute an important percentage, a great percentage of the population. Her report.
The month of October registered an overwhelming increase in the prices of some food commodities such as tomatoes, eggs, plantains, Irish potatoes, to name but these. According to the National Institute of Statistics, the month of October witnessed a significant increase in food prices, which stands at 4.0%, compared to that of September, which stood at 2.0%. In our quest to know the evolution of food prices, we decided to visit some markets in the economic capital, Douala. While there, we noticed that tomatoes and eggs are now affordable. Before, we used to sell a basket of tomatoes for 13,000 francs. Now, with 3,500 francs, one can get a basket of tomatoes. Before, a tray of eggs used to be sold for 3,000 francs. Now, one can get a tray of eggs from 1,800 francs. The price of chicken equally rose during the month of October. But now, a slight decrease was noticed, though consumers fear the prices might increase during the festive period. Contrary to these price decrease, we noticed that the prices of onions and garlics have skyrocketed. Before we used to buy a kilogram of garlic for 2,000 francs, but now a kilogram costs 3,500 francs. Onions are equally very expensive. A medium-sized onion costs 100 francs CFA, something which used to be sold for 25 francs. Vegetable oil and rice is equally not left out. We used to buy a liter and a half bottle of oil for 1,250 francs. Now a liter is being sold for 1,700 francs. According to consumers, the increase in food prices has made life extremely difficult.
In news out of Cameroon, the United States of America has officially removed Sudan from its list of state sponsors of terror, and President Donald Trump gave Congress the statutory 45-day notice of this to move in October as part of a deal that involved Sudan paying $335 million to U.S. victims of terror attacks, and Sudan also agreed to normalize relationships with Israel. Its relationship with Israel, the compensation relates to Al-Qaeda's 1998 bombing of the United States embassies in Kenya and Tanzania, in which more than 220 people died. The country was put on the U.S. list of terror sponsors after the first attack on the World Trade Center in New York 1993, and Sudan hosted a number of Islamist militant groups as well as Al-Qaeda's leader Osama bin Laden, and Sudan's designation meant the U.S. stopped the country from getting debt relief and prevented the International Monetary Fund and other global institutions from lending the country money. Its removal from the list of state sponsors of terror should help with vital economic support measures. Sudan agreed to compensate the U.S. families of the victims of the 1998 attacks on the United States embassies in Kenya and Tanzania. In news concerning coronavirus, the first COVID-19 vaccination in the United States has started. It took place as the country gears up for its largest ever immunization campaign. An intensive care nurse in Long Island, New York, is believed to have been the first person to be given the jab. Millions of vials of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine are being distributed. 150 hospitals are expected to have received doses of the vaccine today. The United States vaccination program aims to reach 100 million people by April, and COVID-19 fatalities are nearing 300,000 in the United States. It has by far the world's largest or highest death toll. The Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine received emergency use authorization from the United States Food and Drug Administration, FDA, last Friday, and the rollout of the vaccine comes as the pandemic continues to ravage the country, and deaths have been rising sharply since November. The number of people in hospital with the disease has also continued to grow steadily. According to the COVID tracking project, more than 109,000 people are currently admitted. That's it for the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. Thank you for joining us in Talking Points. Our guest today is a social entrepreneur and Pan-Africanist, founder and president of the United Africa for Economic Empowerment, Anglophone, and the organizers, one of the organizers of the Pan-Affairs Excellence Award. Pan-Affairs stands for Pan-African Conference and Cultural Festival. Professor Akumbom Mark Anthony, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Babila, for the opportunity to actually participate in this beautiful and wonderful program today.
Right, we begin in the southwest region of the country where three traditional rulers were abducted. One of them died in the course of the abduction, and the other two were released earlier today. The traditional ruler of Mile 14 is no more.
That is a situation that is heartbreaking, Babila, because it seems as if the chiefs of FACO have become a target, because I think this should be the third that is dead by now, and many of them were arrested. This time around, 3 of them were arrested and 1 died. It is really a terrible situation, especially when we seem to be claiming that the crisis is actually dwindling down and things are coming back to normalcy. It is really terrible when these boys actually target chiefs. To me, it is a desecration of cultural shrines and cultural, should I use the word, holy personalities, because to me, as a Pan-Africanist, I do actually look up to our chiefs as custodians of the customs of our society and our various villages, which makes them so very important. And if they are targeted, that means that the nation is actually, should I use the word, being targeted, because that is the destruction of the real authority of the nation, because the chiefs and funds are the persons that actually have personal and, let me say, one-to-one contact with the people. And when the people are against their chiefs, that is already a serious problem. It means that most of these chiefs have lost their, should I say, they have lost their people, their crowd. And if that happens, we need to go back to actually verify what is wrong. We already know that the situation is so bad, and we expect that the Cameroon government should, in one way or the other, hasten up in seeing to it that this situation is handled, because if it is not handled, we are not seeing it ending just like we claim that it's ending, where people will just sit and then say, okay, everything has come to normalcy because nothing is happening. That's not how crisis ends.
And you were indicating earlier that this is coming at a time when there are many people saying here and there.
Yes.
Saying that things are gradually returning to normalcy. What's the signal that we can read from such an incident? Traditional rulers being targeted, killed, abducted, maltreated.
That's why I said that in relation to my observation, if we claim that at this particular moment things have come to normalcy or are gradually coming to normalcy, when the chiefs, who are actually the custodians of the customs and tradition of our various villages, that is already a serious attack on the entire nation. Because when these particular institutions are targeted, it already indicates how weak the security of the state is. It therefore implies that there is nobody that is protected. There's no particular individual. If the chiefs can be attacked right in their palaces, there's something wrong. We don't have security. And if there is no security, we can't claim that everything is okay. Everything is not okay.
To some people, when you speak like you're doing now, and when you say that the situation is worsening, is deepening, is bad as you indicated, it means that you don't want it to end.
Rather, I want it to end, because talking about it is because it is hurting. You might not know, Mr. Babila, I used to live in a corner, and until when my home was attacked, until when my wife was shot, I never saw a reason to leave. So I know the crisis deep as it is. And so nobody can claim to me and tell me that things have come to normalcy when I still see chiefs being killed, Not only chiefs, there are adoptions every day. You hear that this person is dead. Of recent, my granduncle was killed. Where is the security? How come that we can claim that the thing is ended? It's not. Rather, I am seeing things getting bad and bad. So I think that my position is not like trying to insist that the crisis is getting deeper and deeper. Rather, I'm trying to pass this information to those who are concerned more, who knows what to do, because I believe that the government has the knife and the yam in his hands, as well as every individual, every Cameroonian has the responsibility to make sure things can change. So if I'm talking because I expect that we should do the right things for the right results. We can't be doing the same things every day and expecting to get different results. When we do that, that is next to madness. That's a definition for madness. You can't be doing one thing every day and expecting another result. That is where I think our various should I use the word cosmetic solutions that have been applied to solve the problems which we are going through right now is where we have a problem. We need to go back, sit on the table, redefine the strategies on how to handle the situation in which we are going through right now. When that is done, I will be sincere that we will have solutions to the problem. But if we continue this same way, we'll end up with this crisis going beyond 10 years. And no one of those in the southwest or in the northwest want to keep on in this situation. People have suffered a lot. We have lost a lot of persons. And if we have already lost a lot of persons, I think it is time for not only the citizens of the Cameroon to react, but let the government take a swift action to change the situation on the ground.
And the government authorities have been telling the people that there is hope. There is hope that everything will return to normalcy. There will be peace in those two regions. There is hope.
It is good. You know, a man only loses hope when he's no more alive. But I would want to say this: before the Fon of Nsok was actually kidnapped, it was after a meeting they had in Yaoundé that gave them the courage to go back to their various villages. And when he courageously took the steps, because we know him as a lion, he went into his village, going there with us man of God. We are talking of Christian Cardinal Tumi. They were both kidnapped. That's to tell you nothing has been done. The question is, how were they kidnapped? How? If everything is okay, if things have come down to normal, if normalcy is returning, why and how were they kidnapped? That is still to draw and pin on that point that nothing that we have done so far has been able to solve the problem. So there is need for the right strategies to be applied for the problem to be solved.
What would be the right strategy according to you?
It has always been my position that if the Cameroon government expect that things should come to an end, we shouldn't in any way discriminate who sits on the table of discussion. And apart from that, we shouldn't claim that there are some particular persons we should not talk to when we are in a crisis. I believe that we consider this situation as a home situation in the house. Let's say a father is having some kids who have in one way or the other decided to rebel. It doesn't mean that the father kills the children. What the father does is he stretches his hand. After having beaten them, he stretches the other hand and brings them in. That is how the African people solve problems. You don't beat your child and throw the child out of the house.
And the government thinks that is what it's doing with the DDR center.
It is a strategy. It's a nice one. But the truth is, we can't be talking of DDR when at the present we have not been able to bring the people who are actually against the nation on the table to talk to them and show them the way into the DDR. At the present moment, there is still should I use the word a war and a crisis actually taking place, which you can't claim that people will just abandon. I know there are some that are going to actually say, okay, I have suffered for a while. I have been thinking that the thing will end, and they will join. Is that the strategy the government wants to use, that we keep on allowing the crisis to continue so that the people get tired to come and join the DDR, or are we trying to see that the problem is solved so that all Cameroonians are free? All the Anglophones in wheresoever they are freed. The military people who are being killed every day in their various battlefields are free, because nobody likes the situation. It is not only the Amber Boys, not only the civilians, not only the military. In fact, people are dying from every side.
And there's some people who think that only international help can take us out of the troubled waters, only bringing in an international mediator, discussing on a foreign ground and a neutral ground and things like that. But you, as a Pan-Africanist, you Pan-Africanists say that African problems should be solved in Africa.
With African
Cameroonian
solutions.
problems should be solved in Cameroon by Cameroonians with Cameroonian solutions.
That is what I believe. I don't believe that Europeans, who are the creators of the problem we are facing right now, will ever solve it. There is no United Nation that will solve a Cameroon problem. There is no European Union that will solve a Cameroon problem. Neither a United States or whatsoever will solve a Cameroon problem. Africans, we must come to the place where we understand that the problems we are suffering from right now, when we talk of the Anglophone crisis, that is a situation that was created by the United Nations, which implies that they are at the source of our suffering. So we do not expect them to solve our problems. It is time for Africans to get to start understanding this. We cannot receive solutions from the same people who created the problems. We must get to start creating solutions to our own problems. So I believe that in Cameroon, we can create a solution to this problem. And that, as I said, as Africans, we solve our problems believing that as members of a household, those who are recalcitrant, when they are beaten, they are brought back into the house and treated as kids of the home. But if we follow on with the situation where we keep on beating and throwing the children out of the house, we are actually radicalizing not only those whom have been beaten, but others alongside with them. So I think it is time for the government to take another measure in dealing with this situation.
And beyond the security challenges, the economic problems, social problems, you Pan-Africanists also say that we don't need to go out there to Germany, to the United States, to China to look for solutions. We have solutions here. But now, how to get the solutions to produce the results?
Okay, I thank you for that particular question, because it goes the force in the area in which some of us we are existing. So look at it. We came up and looking for a way to solve the problems that we are having. I got up one day and I saw the economic situation of Cameroon and that of most African nations, and I looked through and I discovered that we have what the world does not have. And I discovered that a lot of us, we are rushing out of Cameroon to go look for what we have in Cameroon. And a lot of people become beggars in Europe. Some of them are dying in the Mediterranean Sea without ever seeing the Europe that they are intending to go to, while we are here having all that it takes to live big. Some people will say the government has done this and that. It is time, high time, we stop pointing the fingers on the government, because we must get to the place where we start asking the question, what have I as an individual given to my nation, not what my nation has given to me? Because when you keep on focusing on that, you will never see the right solutions to your problems. Look around you. Africa is the largest continent on earth. When I say the largest continent, means that
in terms of surface area?
In terms of surface area, not population. In terms of surface area. When it comes to surface area, we have over 30,000. I think when you look at it, the entire China can fit in Africa. The entire Northern America can fit in Africa, and Europe can fit in Africa, and there will still be space. That's to tell you we have a vast land surface. With that, we have one thing that we are so used to and we believe in, that we know, is agriculture. And so if Africans will have agriculture, and the next thing I will tell you is Africa has the greatest, youngest population in the entire world. So we have a population of average age 18 that has the capacity to actually transform the land into an agricultural industry that will permit us to have food to sell to the entire world. I think in the next few years, from now to 2050, the population of the world would have climbed to 9 billion people. And today I'm hearing they are talking of food scarcity. Africans can create that food industry and make money out of it. And that is one of the targets that we are having.
Right, Professor, we'll certainly have time to get into the details of what you're saying now. That's quite interesting for us Cameroonians and Africans to know that we have the solutions here, we have the solutions to our problems here, but now the issue is how to get it working. And I'll say that thank you very much, Professor, for coming. Professor Akumbo Mark-Anthony, social entrepreneur and Pan-Africanist, founder and president of United Africa for Economic Empowerment, UNAFE, and one of the organizers of the Pan-Affairs Excellence Award. Pan-Affairs, of course, as said, stands for Pan-African Conference and Cultural Festival. Thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today. Equinoxe is up next.